Hi, am I live? Yes, I am. Okay, we're just gonna get started as usual. I'm feeling a little sniffly. Things are getting a little cold, and I'm hoping that doesn't mean I'm gonna get sick. But who knows what that actually means. There's no guarantees out here. All right, our usual cells here. We're gonna continue working on our little state machine plugin slash GOAP manager game. A little bit longer detour than I hoped, but here we are. Let's make some announcement here. Stream viewer, live now. Mikori, because last time Mikori was like, oh, I didn't know you were live. And then I'll go Twitch. Link here. You know, someday I'll remember my own Twitch link. I'm not very good at remembering things. That's my fallacy. Announcement is made and then we can get focused. So we were in the middle of creating behavior trees for these like berries. Was just kind of imagining what there could be. But no actions yet. You know, I was dreaming about this the other day. I was thinking like it might be actually pretty cool because, you know, the whole struggle is always like, oh, well, you know, the action requires the world information. What I mean by that is in order for you to perform certain actions as a character, you need some information about the world in order to either move towards something or move within that space. That means at the end of the day, we need to invoke the movement logic and action logic within the place where you can access the world state, where an individual character is not. So I was thinking it might be interesting to signal out the intended behaviors, and then there's a behavior or action handler, like character action handler that knows how to handle certain specific actions for that specific character. Now, of course, things like moving to a place maybe could be done within the character itself, because that's just moving straight line. And if there's like some sort of speed-based stuff, and this could also be like character action. Hey, Apollo. Welcome, welcome. So yeah. But first thing first, I think I was gonna do some sort of like component-based action controller. So for example, if I say, hey, this entity, the character body, its movement controlling based on speed and all those things is handled by something called character movement component, for example. You know what I mean? And then in here, because, okay, hey, Apollo, I was just saying, like, I'm tired of redoing some of these things, like basic character movement towards a target based on velocity, action, gravity, all these things. I'm tired of it. And it's hard to compartmentalize because a lot of times your character body logic is a parent logic for your game specifically. So I want a way to extract that information that are often commonly used and can be used as a component. So what if I do that? And that's also an opportunity for me to make my own little template for. So I'm going to try that now. Maybe we'll transfer this later, but I'm going to make a new folder here. We're doing a lot of additional thing. Maybe I need to change this name to like something else, but we'll see. So we'll do, how about easy utility or easy components, and then I'll have one that's for character body 2D specifically, but and then we can create movement component and call this movement component. And then this one takes in the target of the movement, basically subject body 2D, like so. And then this will go. I guess I could describe what this actually is. I could be like, movement component is meant to be handles the basic movement logic of the subject. And then it will have something like move to position, and then, you know, some sort of export category, movement config. And I can do export var speed, which will be, I guess, float here. Move to target node, and then target will be node 2D here. Target with position, I guess, which is the same thing as this. I don't know why I would need to do target though then. I guess this matters because target means you can be continuously chasing. Instead of move to target, it could be like chase target. And this is a move to position. Func, yeah. This could work. You know, you see what I'm saying? And then if we have speed, we could have acceleration, right? So we can have acceleration, export var deceleration. And then maybe there's like I mean, I'm starting to make like a physics simulation at this point. Let's say I do this for now. Mikori says, didn't miss you today, muhaha. Yeah. Did you notice that I at you on my announcement? I literally at you, Mikori. That was the joke. Well, welcome. Hi, Hasi. Welcome, everyone. We're doing something else now. Well, not else, but it's getting heavy. This is definitely, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is coming up to be a moment to come up with all the quick plugins / templates so that I can make games faster. Where's our as AI? Yeah, easy AI. This is easy AI, but I'm also part of easy AI is that when I decide on behavior, I need to be able to execute these behaviors. And as always, I'm trying to think about implementing the movement. I got really annoyed by having to do the movement logic every time. So I am making a component that you can drop in, and then you can assign a subject like this. And then that's what's going to handle the movement. You know? So that's the idea. This is a chase target, right? And basically, I think we can have physics process here. And we'll have our target, which will be null here. And then basically have some stuff, stop chase, like that. Hey, Retector. Retector says, ah, yes, hello, Ezra. Hello, Retector. Retector says, the guy who provided 5 alternatives for FSM and still building one. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I can theoretically talk about it and then, you know, do the implementation myself to see and prove how it actually works really well. I mean, so far it's really helping with the organizational structure. But, you know, I'm also getting distracted by all these other things that I could be making, which seems pretty nice. So here we are, a whole lot of plugins and templates. But then the idea is once I'm done with this, if making a top-down game will take like a day. Well, aside from the amount of time you will have to take to implement or make graphics. But if you have assets, it'll be quick. Protector says this is mostly a joke, by the way. No, I took it as a joke. I'm a serious guy. You know what I mean? I don't do jokes. So we'll have chase target here. Oops. Chase target. And that's going to be assigned to be a target. Stop chase will simply just assign this to null. Hopefully that's a thing I can do. And then on physics process, I'll just say, hey, if chase target no or chase target exists, do it. Otherwise return. So we'll do this like so. Or I could just go like this. Chase update. This could be easy. Provide delta here and then func chase update delta float like so. This could work. Move to position. Var position target will be vector 2. Stop chase can, I think both could be just stop movement or cancel movement, I guess. Cancel movement where chase target and position target becomes null. And then this one will be assigned to position real quick. And over here, you can say if this move to position delta. Now we can't have both. It's a toggle. So if the chase target happens, then the position target becomes null. If this happens, chase target becomes null immediately, like so. Now this is saying that it can't be null because it's not something that can be assigned to. So I guess something we can do is var is target assigned instead. And then I wish there was an easier way to do it. Because chase target, I can do it based on the nullness of the object. This one, I can't do it based on the nullness. Mr. Protector says, are you creating a template for top-down or just practicing coding patterns and stuff? Well, I mean, I'm creating... The intention is that I want to make this like AI logic plugin, which is a template / plugin. So while doing that, because I'm in the mode of creating and reusing code to make games faster, and this game example happens to be top-down, that I am making a quote-unquote top-down template accidentally. My only hope is that I don't go so overboard that it takes me forever to do it, where I get completely distracted by my other game project that I was pausing on. Because I got to be fast enough that I finish this and then make videos and then release it, right? So we'll see. I mean, you could call it a practice, I guess. All right. But I think so far it's not too crazy. This whole null thing is killing me. So I'm going to say var is moving to target like so, which I guess is by default false. On this location, we go true here. And then in this case, we'll go false. Like so. And basically, if we are moving to target, we're going to move to position. And then that's the only thing we're going to do. We're not doing any continuous stuff here. So we'll return. So if we're moving to a target position, which is this. We're moving to position. Let's rename that. We'll do that. Boom. And then we're going to move to position with delta updates. Like so. Right. Now chasing update is continuous movement. That's okay. We need a speed handler because we have acceleration and deceleration, right? That would be interesting. Because we start the process of stopping once we arrive, I think. I think that's the intention. What if it's not just like moving to a position, but moving to a direction? I guess that's also another thing we can do. Okay. We have moving to a position, so these are like automatic movements towards something. But we also could have something like move towards, which would be direction, basically, vector. Vector 2. And as long as this is assigned, it keeps moving. And then cancel movement. Okay. Ooh, okay. This almost requires a state machine. Because we're in a different mode. Where are we in a move towards mode, or are we in a chasing target mode, or are we in a moving towards direction mode? Now it's simple enough that I feel like I could just do this, is moving to direction. And then we can say cancel movement could just do all that. So instead of redoing all these things, I could just go, hey, cancel the movement first, and then assign these things. Hey, Big Kano, thanks for the lurk. Protector says, isn't move towards is a method of vector 2? Potentially. So I'm not reinventing it, because I could still use the vector 2 stuff. But I am controlling the character's movement, which may require more additional wrapper thing. So within the implementation of the move towards, I probably would be using like vector 2's move towards, you know? Stuff like that. Because in our own implementation, we also end up having to do a lot of these, right? Whenever we're implementing character body, we do something like this, where we go, oh, you know, move and slide, or we decide what the velocity is, and then we do move and slide. And that's how we move, right? And calculating the velocity based on speed, acceleration, and deceleration is something that we always do. Or based on the movement is something that we always do. So I'm trying to just kind of make a component that has all of these things so I can do everything I need. Kelso says, what are you doing? I'm still working on Easy AI plugin/template with behavior tree, state machine, and goal-oriented action planning with our little God world thing. We just ended up finishing our state machine for different age state for changing the shape of the strawberry, and then added some state here for the action. And then we were looking at adding behaviors. So we added some behaviors here without implementation. And part of the implementation is we need to actually have the berries execute these actions or behavior. So we need fundamental movements. So we're implementing movement logic. And then I was like, you know what? I'm tired of doing this every time. So I'm making a little component called character movement component that I can just drop onto any character I want. So that's the idea. Does it overcomplicate it? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if the use case is simple, it's overcomplicated. But if I'm like these logic that I am writing functions for, in the past year and a half that I've been making game jam games with, these are all the things that I happen to be like using over and over again. Yes, it could be a num. It probably is not a bad idea. But, you know, whatever. Too late. Oops. Oh, Denimal, thanks for the resub. Gee, already time for another sub? Thanks for the resub. 6 months. Truly a fan, Denimal Dad. Well, I wish you good luck in everything that you do. Mr. Protector says W money for dev. Yeah, exactly. What a G, right? Yeah, exactly. Tier 1. It's not even a prime sub. It was a tier 1 sub. It actually paid for it. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So we have some chasing update. We have to move to position update. You know, technically, I feel like we do need some logic for like moving towards, and I think that could probably used for everything. So the whole like move to position or move to direction, I think moving towards eventually will overtake everything. So instead, if we're in a move towards mode, all I have to do is, or if I'm on a move position mode, all I have to do is just keep assigning move towards every time, right? So, well, this is already there. So let's see. I guess moving towards, we don't really need to cancel any movement here. I'm thinking I don't need this anymore because this will be a logic itself. You have speed, acceleration. We need to figure out current speed. So I'm trying not to use too many helping function, but function does help with some of the calculations. So, okay, let's think. In order to get the current velocity, right, we have a starting velocity. So it would be like, hey, subject, we have a current velocity, right? Current velocity, which is a vector 2. And then we want to change direction towards the direction. So that means the deceleration and acceleration causes the stoppage and movement. I think this is a movement towards something, so we're going to do acceleration. Maybe deceleration is only for stopping, or we don't worry about deceleration at all. That wouldn't make sense, though. Oh, we'll see. Okay, so we're deltaing, so we have a direction that we're moving towards, and that's a vector. And we're going to assume that the direction is unit vector, or we can normalize. So this is a unit vector, meaning the length of this is 1, but it's pointing towards a direction. And then if we multiply by the acceleration number, we're getting the vector, direction vector, and lengthening it by the acceleration and amount, meaning this is the acceleration vector. This is the direction of the acceleration that we need to do, plus the direction, or plus the amount, x and y. And based on the delta, which I guess I should probably do here. Let me do it over here. I'm going to do the calculation here so I can move things around later. Velocity delta, aka acceleration, would be, let's see, direction. I guess we should have a direction delta here. We're gonna have to figure this out one at a time. There's a lot of stuff going on. Movement direction. And then movement direction will be used, normalize, accelerate. And this is the velocity delta. This is how much you're moving. If we're actually using the delta, which is the amount of seconds that has passed since last update, because acceleration is velocity per second. If you multiply a second to it, you get how much velocity we need to change per second. So we're getting the movement per second here this way by multiplying a delta, since physics process is not constant trigger. So this is the velocity delta straight up. So new final velocity ends up being current velocity plus velocity delta. The speed happens to be the top speed, basically. Essentially, that's what that is. So we do final velocity, but basically the, what do you call, the resultant, or the length of this velocity should never exceed the top speed. So we have to make sure. Okay. So final velocity have the resulting velocity plus the direction with the components x and y. We want to keep the direction, but squash it down, right? In order to do that, we need to normalize and multiply. If we normalize the final velocity, we get the direction. And then if we multiply it by the top speed, then we get that speed. So we're increasing. And then if we say, hey, if final velocity's distance or length is greater than the top speed, let's say, right? Because it's the length. Negative and positive doesn't really matter. This will always be positive, so like an absolute value. If that's the case, then we're going to change the final velocity to be a normalized version of this vector times the top speed. Yeah. So this one is a logic of accelerating the velocity towards a direction, and when it reaches a certain speed, we'll keep it at that speed, basically. Alternatively, if we want to do some, make sure that it doesn't, like, velocity doesn't jiggle, we can do guarding here, but I'm not going to do that right now. And that means now after that, the character, which is the subject's velocity can equal to final velocity. And we can do subject, move and slide, or something like that. I almost feel like, yeah, I think we're coming into the enum slash state machine situation. But I think the enum would do. So we could have enum movement state where we're moving and stopping. Basically, you're either starting to move or you're starting to decelerate. And then I guess idle. We could have that. Current movement state. And then obviously it starts at idle. So over here, we'll assign these things eventually, but I think we can get to a good place here. So we're top speed, and then since this one is based on the movement, what we can do is if we're moving towards a position, we can say, or if we're moving to a position, we can do a direction where we say, okay, well, the position target the subject's position's direction, or not direction. Yeah, it is direction, isn't it? Can I not do that? Subject. Hold on, let me see. Subject, position, direction to the position target. That would be the little direction vector. And then we say, hey, move towards that. So we do that assignment on every loop. We're determining the position every loop. And then we probably need to do something like to do when arriving. Chase will probably do the same thing, except when it's arriving, it's not going to cancel and remove the target. It's going to stay on target. So we'll say, hey, instead of the subject position direction to position target, we'll say target chase target. So it'll be the thing. Target's position. Cool. When we're canceling movement, these things go away, so we're not really going to move towards anything. Good. Move towards needs to be assigned on every loop, I think. Yeah. Yes. So we'll do that. On every loop, the direction is given to us. After move and slide, the Hi, Tony. Hello. Long time no see. Okay. So we're accelerating. So this will say move towards some direction. We move towards some direction. Afterwards, the velocity... I mean, we don't want to change the velocity just quite yet. I think what we do need to do... Movement direction, subject velocity. I think... Let me see. Movement direction gets assigned, right? So if... Demo says, did you see all of the issues earlier? Azure and everything that used Azure, including a lot of games, went down for a bit. Seems like it's better, but still... Oh, interesting. Seems like a lot of the cloud computing solutions are being hit. I wonder if it's a purposeful attack by some entity. Now, my tinfoil would be like, oh my gosh, Russian spies. Or a government trying to control the web and see how much they can control it. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, actually. No, I haven't heard of it. Speaking. Daniel says, wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, no. I mean, sometimes some crazy things there's some truth to it, I'm sure. Like, if it's possible, why wouldn't they, type of thing. But who knows? Who knows? Anyways, I'm going to use a restroom real quick. I'll be back. I'm back. Bit kind of just kicking people around. Denmal says, our company has been attacked by Russia all month long. Good thing we got good security. Oh, they're actually doing that kind of stuff. You know, that's kind of funny that people, like, the reality of cybersecurity out here is kind of rough. People are actually doing these type of attack and DDoSing. I mean, I could see a benefit of big entities doing something like that. And the first attack would be to, you know, stop the service somehow so that you can flood the traffic with erroneous attack vector. It's scary if you think about the implications. Anyways, okay, so the velocity is starting velocity, and then we move it. We move and slide the subject. Nothing else happens. Okay, cool. Let me think about this. There are some state issues here. So when we're moving towards something, we're saying until we reach that target, we're going to keep moving towards something. But if we are done, we need to stop. Demo says, I work in cybersecurity. China and Russia are always attempting something to American business. Just a normal day. I see. Yeah. I see. So it's happening all the time. So there's no secret about that. Okay. It's not just a theory. I mean, why wouldn't they? That's what I'm saying. I'm sure America is also attacking China and Russia all the time. They influencing each other in some ways, especially when everything is online, like especially things like voting and news, right? That needs to go to somewhere, unless we go, okay, well, these are one of those things that shouldn't be online. Like only thing I can think of, for example, like if I were to make a voting machine, I feel like you need to not connect it to the web and collect the counts within the machine itself as some sort of like hardware collector. I don't know. Who knows how it's built? It's scary. Okay. When we're moving towards a position, or we're to the position and we're moving towards it, I think there is a check where basically after moving and sliding, or should we do it before? I guess before moving, if we determine that the position has reached, so for example, position target, this is kind of hard. This whole like arriving at destination is always a little tricky because there's like multiple vectors that can come from. So I think it needs to be some sort of pre-calculation, I think. This part is always annoying to me. So because I think the idea is, let me remind myself, because I can't visualize this just in my head. How do you decide you have arrived at your position when velocity is not exact? One way to do it is to decide the velocity so that it arrives at the destination perfectly, but that's impossible. So like you have movement here, right? And let's say this is the target and this is the subject. One moment you're here, on next frame you're here. Now, do you overcorrect and do this? Maybe. But that means on next update, you're going to have a situation where you overshoot again and then you go here and then you just keep oscillating back and forth. You kind of have to give up at some point. So you need a vicinity of arrival radius. That's something we need, so we can overshoot and just still say, hey, we've arrived. Second is, in case you still shoot through, we need some sort of like detection of going through this radius, right? On an update. So we have to be like, hey, in a single delta update or a single frame in the current movement, would I be going through this position? I think is a question we need to ask. So in order to do that, we have a position and a radius, so we can tell where everything is. And I guess we have a movement vector, the velocity, and then we know where we will be. If the length of the potential movement is I'm gonna have to think about this for a little bit. Oh, yeah. How about this? If the distance to the target is less than equal to, so if this length is less than the movement that I'm about to do, then I think you can consider it arriving in that frame. So I think we could have a state. Okay, that's good. All right, that's how you do it. Forgot. So we could be arriving. That's not just normal moving. We're doing the arriving movement where we gotta set the position. So we could say, hey, if distance to target. So for example, if our distance to target, which happens to be float, is subject distance to, hold on, subject position distance to position target. If this target is greater or less than the movement that I would be making, which, well, I need a final velocity calculation first, huh? Let me think. The velocity calculation can't happen beforehand. I suppose that this calculation needs to happen after the movement. So we're doing moving to position. After moving and sliding, if we're moving to a position, we're saying, hey, distance to target is this. Otherwise, if we're moving towards chase target, distance to target would be based on the position of the chase target, like so. So I think what we actually need to do is get rid of the chase update, I think. It's going to be a little bit messy, but I think we can do this. So we're going to make it so that the chase target would mean on update, if chase target, we're going to say we're moving to a position, and we're updating on every loop the position where the target is standing. So we're relying on, if we're chasing target, we're relying on the logic of moving to the position. If we're relying on moving to the position, we're relying on the logic of moving towards a direction. So they are kind of like chained. They're relying on each other. So if we have a chase target, we do the position. If we are moving towards a position, we do this. the whole cancel movement thing is going to mess things up. So I'm going to get rid of this for now. And then clean this up later. Okay. So chase target, we're moving towards, moving to a position. If we're moving to a position, we're moving towards a position. And then if we are actually moving to a position, not just towards, then we calculate the distance to the position that we're going to. And if that is, we'll do it this way, like that. If that is greater, I guess, or less than the distance. So we'll say var distance to travel would be velocity times, well, I guess I could move and slide then see. I don't know if it will be based on delta, but final velocity times delta would be the position delta. So it would be subject position plus this is the final spot var post move position. And that we're going to compare the distance to, which is subject position distance to post move position. If it would be if distance to target is less than equal to distance to travel, then we have to start decelerating. Movement state would be decelerate. A little complicated, but I don't know any other way to do this. Yeah. There's potentially a side effect, so I might have to adjust the position. So yeah, we have to decelerate. I think that's the only way to do it. And then we move and slide. Cool. This is accelerating. So this would be while we're on a moving state. Okay, cool. Let me think about this now. If I just set the movement direction, none of these pass, where we come down here and then we set the velocity, but then the target is highlighted. So we gotta say, cancel movement would be setting this off and setting the check. Okay. I think that's the only way to do it. Because if I say move to a position and then I switch over to chase to a target position, it'll automatically override the move to a position. If we're chasing a position and then we're going to the move position, like because I'm doing this, I don't want it to cancel the chase target. I feel like the chase target, stopping all those things needs to be manually assigned by saying you have to call cancel movement before switching over. Otherwise, there are side effects. Okay, that has to be the rule, I think. Though I'm internally calling these. Potentially a bug. Potentially a lot of bug here. But we'll see. Okay. Or we can make two different versions. The public-facing versions are canceling, and then the internally used helper functions are non-canceling, potentially. So instead of reusing it, I could just be like, oh, cancel movements here before assigning any of these things, so that it becomes 0, 0. And instead of doing this, we go, oh, we're just going to do one of these things. Position target is this. And then we're going to set this to true. And it's going to be like, oh, this is that. And move towards would be just simply moving to a direction like so. Okay. We're setting it. We're setting and updating the direction every time. Switch or match, I guess, for us, where current movement state is case of movement state moving. We're doing all of this, unfortunately. And then that gets assigned when I don't know if it should be assigned on call or if it should be assigned automatically based on the value of the variable. You know what? I'm going to make it so that it's done on call. So we'll go boop. And then movement state moving until it arrives. So we can do that. And on cancel movement, it'll be idle, I think. Well, not exactly, because it needs to decelerate based on this. All right. Yeah. Idle. I don't think we need a stopping state, because if you're meant to be idle and you have a velocity, that means you're coming to a stop. We're going to reduce it. Yeah. Arriving, moving or idle. I think those are the only states we need. So we go back to idle here. Movement states, we say, hey, if the movement state is intended to be idle, that means we want to still take the current velocity, right? And go, hey, current velocity is approximately 0. I need this to be absolutely 0. If it is not 0, or I guess approximate 0 is fine. Is 0 approximate. Hasi says, that little floating platform is getting a bit tight for 3 berries. Time to make some space for Elder. Kick. Oh, Tony is in there, huh? Did the kick not work? Wait, why is the kick not working? It is working. Hold on. Change berry. Let me try to rescue you guys. I'll get up there real quick. Oh no, a little too fast. I moved a little too fast. Hold on. Hey, you did it. Nice. So it does work. I was a little worried. That was not working. Okay, let's see. All right, when it's idle, we're saying, hey, is it 0 approximate? If it is not 0 approximate, then we actually need to start decelerating, right? So we go, oh, var velocity delta would be the opposite of a velocity's direction, right? We go velocity direction or normalized times deceleration times delta would be the amount that we need to reduce it by. And then, excuse me. And then we want to set the final velocity to be something like current velocity plus the delta. And this is already a negative of this. We normalize it and we flip it to an opposite direction. So this will be a deceleration. And then this will reduce to 0 eventually, or overshoot it and go to the other direction. And that's a bit of a problem. So we'll say basically if the delta length, meaning the amount of I don't know if the delta will have negative length. It probably wouldn't, right? Magnitude. Yeah, it won't be a positive. So if the length I'm trying to reduce it by is greater than or equal to the length of the velocity, right? Then we are about to decelerate it by the amount greater than the velocity. So we should be able to say, oh, if that's the case, then final velocity should be 0. Meaning it's completely stopped. And then we want to assign the subject velocity to be this final velocity. So this will be 0, blah, 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 all those things. And then we have a thing now, so we can move and slide here as well. Okay, so if it is 0, then we just return out here. If it's not 0, we do all of these things. Great. Move and slide. Hi, Magic Food Bar. Welcome, welcome. All right, this is the most basic quote unquote physics / acceleration speed based movement logic, right? It's pretty readable, I think. I think it makes sense. We're setting it to 0, blah, blah, blah. If we're idle, it doesn't matter. We're staying in idle mode. We only go to the moving mode if we have a target. But if we have a target, we come over here. And if we're moving to a position, we go, hey, if we're about to be there, basically, then do this. One more thing, which is var target tolerance radius, which would be tolerance of considering arrival to target, how close, or margin of error for deciding the subject has arrived. Hey, thanks for the follow, Zoomer Trash. Yeah, plant your berries. Okay. And this one would be probably considering it. I'll do this by like 16, I don't know. And basically, since this is where the arrival is kind of like decided, I would say distance to travel. We'll do it this way, where we go. Absolute value of the difference between distance to travel to distance to target. This is not exactly correct though. Ugh. Because this is only true if you're about to arrive. Wait, that's not true. If distance to target is huge, this is going to be a huge number. Yeah. Okay. So if the distance to target minus distance to travel is a tolerance, if it's less than the tolerance, right? Tolerance. Then it's considered arrived, I think. Hold on. So distance to travel, whether it be this or this, depending on the velocity. And then distance to target, if you take the differences, if it is less than the tolerance, if the difference is less than the tolerance, then we've arrived. Okay. I think my hand-wavy way of thinking about this is confirming that that is correct. I'm sure there's some stuff we need to assign, but let's come up with some base numbers by testing it. So we'll say, let's start with top speed being 100, acceleration being 1, deceleration is 1 as well. Target tolerance of 16 here. McCray says, I'm back, so what you working on? I'm still working on my little character movement component, because I have a feeling that, okay, part of it is that I feel like I'm going to add a lot of subjects that will be moving around that is not necessarily just berry folk. And I would hate to do this movement logic every time in order to program its AI. So I am making a component-based movement control where I can just drop the movement component to handle all these acceleration, deceleration, top speed, target distance, tolerance logic, so that I can just kind of drop this node. So basically, I'm getting addicted to making like templatized project. Hey, Hypnotic. So that's what we're doing. We just finished making our movement component for a subject, and the way it works is you can see right here. You have a, is my head covering it? Oh, I might be here. Look. So you have a movement component here, and you can see in the property, you can provide the subject, like what is moving. And then we can provide its a movement configuration. And then basically, if you want to move this, you just call these things. Move towards, move position, or chase target. And the idea is we make this movement. I'm not going to even call it movement handler. I'm just going to call it movement. So if a top level game says, I want to move this target, you just get the movement component and then say move it, and it'll move it. So you're giving up control to outside. Now, the simplest way to test this, I think, is by making this berry folk move to a mouse position, or if I click on the mouse, right? So let's do that. We'll do input func, input event, input event. McCoy says, hey, that works. Easy template. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. I've always dreamed of making a template. I had a video idea. Okay, well, Hypnotic is probably too busy, but I was really hoping that I could do a, what do you call, like type of collab with other Godot creator to be like, hey, here are all the tools and plugins that I use often. And then it's like everybody adds one plugin to a project. And then you have this like a template made by 10 Godot creators. And it's like a single project that you can download that has all these toolings that everybody in the industry or the content creators are using. And then have a little excerpt section where each creator talks about what they added and why they like it. Hypnotic says, I'm plugging a verse. Except for Twitcher. Except for Twitcher. But I mean, that's the thing. You might be a verse, but I think there's an interesting exercise. There's an interesting exercise of trying to make something generic enough, but not too generic. Like that's a very specific skill set. But I'm sure your viewers would like it. But at the same time, it's like if even if you don't want it, if it would be an interesting thing that other people would like as a content maker. Well, okay, as ad started, sorry. It would be interesting. It would be interesting. I think it would be a good I think it would be a good viral, not viral, but like pretty big audience evergreen content. And it would be a great avenue for content creator awareness. So for example, if I work with someone and I post it on my video, that will be all pointing to other people talking more deeply about their own plugin or their own experience. And then those videos would be all on my little thing. It would be an interesting collab. Plus, it's like, I feel like it's a better version of that Blackthorn Prod's like 10 devs create video game without communicating. Like that's for people to watch, right? That's for a generic audience, which that's why it does really well. But that's not really for other devs, right? I feel like that's that. I don't know. I've been Hypnotic says I just don't have much to contribute. I see. Yeah, no worries. We'll find it. We'll find people. It's just something that I'm rocking around in my head. All right. So if event is pressed, well, I guess I could go event as mouse button event. Button index is, I don't know, mouse left click, right? And then event is pressed. Then we can just go, hey, you move the berry. Where is it? Berry folk here. Move the berry. Move to position, which will be global mouse position, like so. I mean, I do wonder if I can translate this to local position. I might be able to. Hold on. Berry folk global translate. Not translate. What does that do? It just moves it, right? I know there's like a two global. Yeah, it'll be two local. And then I give a global position like so. And hopefully that'll assign some stuff. All right, let's see. Let's see how much is broken. Because I don't believe that this will work from the get-go. So we'll see what we get. Okay, the first thing says button index on base object nil. Oh, right. Of course. If it is... There you go. Straight up. Okay, we got a little guy. I clicked. Did that do anything? No. Let me redo this. Okay, it came through. I want to go to this right here. Resume. It does that. Starting to move. I want to know if the physics process gets handled after this. Chase target is null, nothing happens. Moving to position is true. The movement direction is this direction. Yes. Current velocity has been retrieved, 0, 0. And we are in a moving state. The velocity delta is very tiny. Maybe the 1 is a little bit too little. It might be the side effect of the movement configuration. So let's say we do 50 for now. 50 deceleration and 50 acceleration. Top speed 2000. How about that? We gotta go big first. Okay. Click. Yes. Assigned. Oh! Oh, it keeps going. Oh, it tried to decelerate and it was too fast. All right. There. Okay, so I clicked right here and it's like it started to stop right here and it's going over there. Okay. All right, that's pretty fun. Let's pump up the deceleration. And then a little bit of acceleration here. Top speed, let's do 500 for now. It kind of working. Of course, the whole movement thing is not working right now, but that's because I didn't program. Oh, it seems like the whole global to local translation doesn't really work. But I mean, it's good to see that it's moving at all. Look, I clicked here and it's like going over there. Where's it going? That was so funny. All right. Cool enough. I gotta look at the to local thing. Okay, to local is it translates the mouse position in relative to the berry. What we actually need is we got a local to the relative to the parent of the berry. First of all, that will be the correct positioning. Boom. Oh, hello. Hey, that's pretty cool. Okay. Acceleration is a little sluggish, so we're gonna up the acceleration here. Top speed, let's do 800. And deceleration also seems a little bit too fast, so we're gonna tone it down to 700 maybe. Hey, this is pretty cool. Look at that. It's cool to see actually the fact that it's just working. Okay. Okay, top speed, it's reaching top speed pretty slowly. And the problem is if you're reaching top speed, it's harder to decelerate. Oh, look at that. Because it's accelerating towards a target, if you if you change direction in the middle of movement, it drifts. And you have this like orbital behavior where okay. I got to think about this. If I'm changing direction, instead of trying to accelerate towards where I want to be, instead of accelerating towards where I want to be, I almost feel like it needs to stop and move. Stop what it's doing and then go towards something else, right? Almost. Also, I can make the acceleration a little... I'm going to reduce this. We're going to have a lower movement speed because it's moving way too much. So let's try that. This is pretty funny, though. Magic Footbar says, about the deceleration. Increasing the deceleration based on velocity. Like if it's faster, stop it faster. Okay. I think that makes sense. Or just, yeah. How about deceleration is based on how much... Well, I mean, if it's 100, it's going to reduce it by 1 second. It's just duration of 1 second. Because top speed determines how fast deceleration is. I think. Right? Am I crazy? So, like, if I go 500, it'll be quicker. I still think that it's a little bit too fast. We'll reduce it down now. 40 per second, and then do 100 here. There you go. I mean, this is like what I'm probably looking for more. Okay. Now the state machine makes sense. So because there is a component... Magic Fuvar says, I have no experience with movement in games at all. I just use UI elements, sprites, and stuff, which is first for my first game. So just an idea I had. I think that's a good idea. Just an FYI. And I think it really depends on the use case. But I think I was able to solve it by just controlling the top speed versus the deceleration. Because it's a relative to what the top speed is. And, you know, all that. So this works, I think. There's some still a little bit of movement stuff that I need to resolve, but that's not an issue for now for me. Now, what I really need is for my state machine to actually kick in. So the walk state, and this is kind of beautiful, I think. So we start at idle state here, and we're saying, hey, like, if hey, where's a walk? It doesn't there's no transition to walk, apparently. If we're in idle, and now we can be like, hey, ooh, there's some relationship here. Well, first of all, interesting. Okay, this is getting a little complicated, but let me just do this for now. If we're playing idle, we're not going to worry about this whole stamina situation right real quick. We're playing idle, and we're just simply going to say, hey, if berry folk velocity length is, or velocity is 0 approximate. If it is not, then just straight up go to walk state. And from the walk state, we're calling has reached target, I think. But instead of doing that, we'll just go, hey, if the velocity is 0 approximate, then return back to idle. For now. And I think that's what we're going to handle for now. So hopefully it'll transition between movement animation and standing still based on the... like that. Lovely. Oh my gosh, our system's working. Isn't that cool? Okay. Now I gotta make a turn. Direction, I think. There it is. Berry folk. And I think we can have turn, which would just simply be Sprite 2D flip H. And I think actually I think this needs to be on loop actually. So I'm gonna get rid of this. While walking, we're gonna take the X velocity. So if Berry Folks velocity X is positive, we do something. And then if it is negative, we do something. If it's 0, we go with the lost flip state. So we go Berry Folk, animated sprite 2D, flip H equals false if it is going towards right. True if it's going towards left. And then I think that will look like natural movement, potentially. Like so. Hello. It's working. It's working. Okay. I mean, it feels like it's gliding because it's moving consistently instead of per frame. But I think it's not that bad. Potentially, we could slow down the animation. Or make the speed faster. I think we need to slow down the animation. So let's do the Berry Folk resources. We're going to go through each sprite frames here. Hello? It's because I have this selected. There you go. Let's make it 4.5. Like so. That feels a little bit better, right? There you go. Obviously, if we have an animation for like decelerating, like sliding, it might feel better. But kind of want to make the acceleration a little bit smoother, or not smoother, but more responsive. So I think I'm going to kick this up a little bit. Slow down also a little bit up. Top speed, let's make it 55. I'll kick it up to 80 so it reaches top speed faster. So we'll go boop. Like that. This is so fun. And then I can do all of this. Okay. Now that it's slower, changing direction doesn't like circle around as much. Okay, cool. All right, all right. Oh, it's so good to see it work. Move towards works. That's the movement component. Magic Food Bar says, let it grab on the mouse when it reaches the mouse, and then you can shake it off by moving the mouse. That sounds fun, actually. I would love to know how to do that. I mean, I guess you could just get rid of the mouse pointer and do a graphic-based mouse. You could do that. That could be cute. I want to do it, but I also know that that's going to take me a while, so... I'll come back to it. I will remember. Maybe that could be just extra thing if I ever get to it. Let's see who's lurking real quick. We got Jay Cannon that's just hiding in the chat. McCoy says this is hilarious. Is it hilarious? It's kind of fun. Look. I mean, we have a movement component now. This is kind of easy to control. Right? Okay. Next up. We need... So when we are dropping a seed, I want the berry folk to immediately go look for it, right? So berry folk right now. That means... Hold on. We want the berry folk to be exploring by default. And exploration is just walking around and scanning around. They might not see the seed or see the seed. Oh my god, that sounds weird. They might not see the seed. But if once they find it, I think they're going to do a pick up item behavior and then plant seed behavior. And it'll be another behavior, which is Magic Food says, oh, multiple berry folk keeps running at the seed and pushing each other away to reach seed first. That sounds complicated, but I think that could be fun. I mean, these are all cute things that we can do for sure. But let's focus on, I like the ideas, but I'm going to try to focus on getting things to actually work first in the basic level, and then get to it. All right, so we're going to implement the explore behavior first before actually doing... Okay, explore behavior, we're going to make it so that the berry just walks around randomly within the boundaries. And then it's going to look for items in its world, right? So in order to do this behavior, we got to use the movement component. Like berry folk is doing something in here. I almost feel like the berry folk behavior shouldn't be inside of berry folk. I almost feel like there should be berry folk behavior handler that is closer to the world state, right? Magic Force says no feature creep at all. Would be a new state fighting. Yeah, exactly. So I think what I'm gonna do so that I can have access to the berry folks individually. Because all you need is you need to provide the parameter that is the subject of the behavior. And then you got to provide the world state. So I'm going to say over here, I'll create a berry folk behavior, which lives outside of berry folk, which I guess technically could live inside, but I don't think we can copy and paste, can we? Is that a thing I can do? Oh, I can. Interesting. All right, good to know. So we have this here. We got berry folk behaviors. Like so. Song is kind of funny, actually. What the heck? Let's look for... I like big band sound though. Kelso says, Ezra is like a teacher who teach kid a simple math problem that in the day of exam it was super hard question. What do you mean? What do you mean? What makes you say that? I teach all the complex stuff. I teach only the fun things, I think. Leave me alone. Ugh. Okay. Let's see. Let me think a little bit, though. I'm getting distracted here. I'm browsing. All right. Anyways. Hey, we're getting there. All right, finally the behavior is here. Explore behavior extends the easy behavior tree. And I'm going to say this one is a sequence, meaning it'll do walking around and scanning regardless of success. So it'll go back to back. And walk around will do this. And it'll be under berry folk behavior, walk around behavior, and then we'll make a scan for item behavior. Yep, there you go. And both of them will extend this. Which this one will be scan behavior, and then walk around behavior. Behavior, scan, walk around behavior. On execute, what are we doing here? Hey, Olivia. Olivia Cecilia? Or Cecilia? Or Cecilia? Or Kiki Ilya? I don't know. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Do correct me. But hi. Welcome. Seems good. Yes, it does seem good. Yusuf says, hi, everyone. Hi, Yusuf. Welcome, welcome. We're getting through it. Okay. Walk around. Berry folk behavior. I suppose the main game would have the behavior component. This is a little tricky because behavior is going to take a subject and a target as necessary, I think. And so I almost feel like I need to provide a game state to the behavior here on the top level. We'll see, we'll see. I'm thinking through it. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna do it under the execute. So do a berry folk behavior, which will have its own script. Top level berry folk behavior here. And the way it's going to execute something. Well, I guess this doesn't have to be a behavior tree. This one can be just node. As I think this can be just berry folk behavior handler. And then we can do, oh my gosh, my ear's ringing. Hey, Rig. I'm sorry, the first has been already claimed. I guess the idea is somebody would call perform behavior and then provide the behavior name. Right. That would be the request. Ray says, I thought it was weird it was still available. Usually it is disabled if already claimed. I don't have the disable implemented. It just refunds you. Sorry. I don't know how to make it disable. Well, I mean, I guess I could do it, but for now it's just there and it refunds. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. For now, the behavior mapping is simple. So we can go var. Oh, you know what? What if we do behavior name? So we don't have to do like mapping ourselves. How about behavior tree has optional behavior name? Export var behavior name. And then if I want, I can define it like so. And over here, I can be like, hey, for child in get children. If child is behavior tree, child as behavior tree, get behavior, oh, not get, just behavior name is this right here. Of course, I wish I could just trim. I guess I could sanitize it. Sanitize name would be that. Strip edges to lower. And then compare it to the behavior name here, which would be to lower and strip edges. A little messy, but I think this can be clean enough. Like so. If that's the case, we're going to grab that child, which is a behavior tree, by the way, and then just do execute on that. Boom. Easy peasy. Somebody can just request that. By default. Right now. Okay. Berry folk should take a behavior. Current behavior, which will be easy behavior tree. And on main, I'll pass this, I think. So, or on process, delta float, we're gonna grab the berry folk, which will be in a group called berry folk. And on main, for now, on every loop, it's going to get nodes in group called berry folk, or folk in berry folk. If folk current behavior doesn't have current behavior, then I think we're going to provide the instead of saying get behavior, then get behavior. Instead of executing it, we return a child. We'll go boop, boop. Otherwise, we're going to probably return null. It's going to be easy behavior tree. It's going to grab a, what are we calling it? Explore. Yeah, we're going to provide explore to the berry folk if it doesn't have any behavior. Right. So I passed behavior is configured on top level, and then I provide all the configuration of the behavior from the top level with the world state and pass it to the berry folk character. And character, assuming that these individual behaviors that's been handed to them has a function, it's going to execute those behaviors. On loop or not? That's the question. Or should it be a single execution? Or continuous execution? That's a question. If I say do this behavior, the behavior needs to decide that behavior is done. Okay, so those are new configuration I need. So by default, the behavior tree node, the plugin, should have more things like signals like is behavior done, or we need an abstract class, I think, for this behavior as well. Not just execute, it needs to determine if it's done or not. So we go abstract function is behavior done, right? So that there can be some asynchronous check. On loop, we'll check if the behavior is done. If it is, we'll signal out. Based on that, behavior finished. Versus loop, I guess, could be an export. Or looping. Loop is loop. Is loop. By default, it's false. Check if the behavior should continuously loop until stopped. And then, hi, Personal Haiti. Welcome. Okay, so we definitely need to provide if the behavior is done. What else? Personal Haiti says, can I ask you something? Yeah, sure. Magic Fugar says, are you planning on setting a time for different behaviors? Time? Like the time out for the behavior? I think that's the user's onus. Like, for example, if I'm the one who's implementing chasing for 20 seconds, I can have the behavior fail and trigger behavior is done there, for example, after 20 seconds. Personal Haiti says, can you add my icon to the game, please? Hey, look, this is too much to remember. I mean, I can't even see your icon. What is it? Oh, is that a spam sandwich? Just asking. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're sticking around long enough or you become an important member of the community, then I don't see why not. But McCray says, so first, AWS US East 1 goes on now. Apparently Azure went down too. Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this earlier because Danimal talked about it. We're like, have you heard? Azure also went down. And then we were like, oh my gosh, it must be the Russians and the Chinese government hacking us. Anyways, hold on. I got to take this call. Wrong number. Personal Haiti says, just asking. No, I can show what it is. Okay. But yeah, no, Magic Fubar, I'm saying that those like 20 seconds delay and those things can be implemented. There's enough tooling and leverages on the... There's enough leverage on the tool itself that I think if that's what you need as a user, you should be able to implement that so far. So I think I don't need to add anything specifically for timeout. Maybe it's a good quality of life update, maybe. Personal 80 says, the sponge patty is an inedible variation of the Krabby Patty that has 2 light pink kitchen sponge used instead of bread buns. Other ingredients include an aluminum brush for the patty. Very inedible, I see. Interesting. All right. Sounds great. But yeah, Mikori, I was like, we were talking about how like there must be some sort of test to see if some of these places can be put down on a during the important moment. Because right now it's just day-to-day business, day-to-day business. So it going down, yes, it is impactful. It's scary. It is impactful. But it's not as urgent as, you know, some of these like cloud computing solutions going down during a very important event, right? So that's kind of scary. Though it is a risk. If you really wanted to put something down during a high event, I feel like as an attacker, you don't want to test the attack, right? Right? Because if you test an attack and you succeed, then they're going to start guarding against the attack. So you want to hide your attack method as much as you can. So maybe not. Maybe it was the attack. Yusuf says, Ezra, I really want to learn procedural animation in 2D and basics of making physics engine. Do you have a recommendation for potential future compatibility of those projects with Godot or further? You mean? I think because the procedural animations and stuff like that is just programming, you should be able to do it in Godot. I have watched some video, and I also have a friend who has tried that, where the animation is based on like these like circles following each other. So making these like salamander stuff. I've seen those. So it seems like it's possible. I don't know about the compatibility part. Like, I don't know what would make it more compatible, but it's basically software rendering in Godot. Personality says, the sponge patty is a Krabby Patty variation. No, you already said that. I heard you. Oh, appears in the episode The Inside Job. Oh, I see. I didn't know that. There was an actual episode for that. Even though I watched a lot of the SpongeBob episodes. Now I know. Now I know. But yeah, McQuarrie. Isn't that crazy? Scary time. Okay, so somebody says, has the behavior finished? And if the behavior is indeed finished, I'm hoping that this gets triggered, which means I'm going to implement a process under here where basically it'll call this on every loop. And if it is true, then we're signaling out this. Only downside is that if people decide to implement their own process, this whole logic breaks down. So I wonder if there's something else I can do. I mean, alternatively, I could do an event-based stuff where instead of calling that, yeah, make a setter. The consideration I'm having with the setter thing is that if I make it a setter that sets behavior is done, right? If I say, okay, so instead of doing this, I go, if I make var is behavior finished, and then I go set this variable to indicate the behavior has finished. If I do something like this, when you're implementing this class over here, for example, when I'm implementing it, there's no indication for me to know to do that. Yes, I wrote this, but I'm imagining this as a plugin or a template. If somebody's using this and is forcing me to implement execute, I look into it and go, I wonder what the execute is. I read it. but there is no apparent explanation of if the behavior, like this is something that I need to do manually, not automatically done. So the idea was to make it automatically done, and then the user just has to define something else. Alternatively, I could just get rid of it completely and rely on the user to do it themselves, right? I'll be like, okay, well, you decide if it is done or not. So then you have to create your own wrapper around the behavior tree, which is definitely a solution, I think. Maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, let's see. Personal Haiti says you can look at it, Encyclopedia SpongeBobia. I didn't know there was like a huge following with SpongeBob in that way. I know a lot of fans out there, but I didn't know there was like this type of fandom. Interesting. No judgment here. Sounds cool. Okay, so execution automatically executes this child. We're gonna implement what walk around feels like. I gotta be like, when does this get executed? I mean, that's the idea. So the current behavior has been assigned to the berry folk. And I have to be like, should I treat the execute to be something that triggers on every loop? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that executes triggers on every loop. Yes. No? Once? If I set it once, it sets up things. No, I think it has to be every loop. Okay, so the benefit of behavior logic being on every loop is that you don't need to work with having a global variable indicating what is happening. You don't have to create a new state to indicate this is going on. You just simply don't update, then behavior stops. Right? I feel like that's a little bit easier. Hasi says, I want to thank you, Ezra. Your stream motivated me. I've started to learn game development again. I took a long break, so I realized that I'm very rusty. Now brushing up on C# and Unity and need some advice. If you were starting game dev from scratch, what would you do and what would you don't? What would you not? I mostly get stuck. Feels like I'm not making any progress. Like there is always too much to learn to be able to create the game, I imagine, and I can't even begin. How do you push through that feeling? I think there is a sense of getting used to. You definitely need to get used to the discipline of like pushing through, and that's a process. Because like I've mentioned this before, it's hard to, so especially people with some like dopamine receptor issues, like ADHD people, have issues with feeling satisfied by anticipating a huge long-term goal. And you need more frequent satisfaction on the way there. So basically, ideally, you want to set things up so that you feel that satisfaction rapidly or quickly. That is to say, smaller chunks of goals that you feel happy about, smaller projects, incremental projects that you feel happy about learning, doing things in the order of most interesting feature. Those things all help, but you do come to the stoppage of like, okay, well, this part is just boring. And I still struggle with that. But what gets me through is the idea of like, oh man, I've experienced this before where, okay, so this is me reminding myself where I go, okay, well, this sucks, or this is boring. I would rather do something else. But I know if I sit for one more second, I can go, I'll sit for one more second. And I can go after this, after this, after this. Just kind of like how when you're watching a really fun an addicting TV show, or when you're playing an addicting game and then you finish and you go one more game, it's that same feeling I get when I'm going one more feature. Is that chasing of completing something, but that happens because I got used to it. The feeling of like, okay, if I just sit one more second, I'm able to feel this satisfaction. Meaning you need to get to a point where you do need to somehow get used to sitting through things and finding satisfaction. So I think the best way to do it, I guess, is really just to go from small incremental goals and making it longer and longer, building on top of it. And then eventually your body kind of get used to sitting through to find satisfaction. Hopefully. Or maybe even just being like, once a day, I'm going to force myself to sit and push through, even if I don't really want to. And then I'm going to reward myself with, I don't know, like sweet treat or go out for a little walk. Then you're starting to get used to that feeling once a week. Like, it doesn't have to be overnight change. I think only thing it takes, I mean, the caveat is that you need to want to change, but the progress you're making shouldn't try to be, you know, overnight, I think. Does that make sense? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. That's how I would approach it. At least that's how I overcome my feeling of, you know, not making progress and facing an ever unsurmountable obstacle, making it feel like it's surmountable, overcomeable. Anyways. It seems pretty obvious. It seems pretty obvious, but it's not. It's like, hey, if you go on stage enough, going on stage is not going to be as hard because you know what to expect. But in order to get to that point, you need to do it while uncomfortable a few times, and then it becomes comfortable. Nothing you enjoy in your life was ever comfortable from the get-go, I think. I mean, there are a few things, but I don't know. That's how I feel about it. All right, so Berry Folk has a current behavior, and what we're going to do here is basically, I think it still has if it is loop or not. I feel like it should never be a loop. I think it should always be reassigned. This whole like looping logic should be determined by the controller. So I'm going to take that out. Boop. I'm going to take the is loop thing out because I want to keep it as simple as possible. Yeah, Hasi said, yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. I'm sure you got it. I believe in you. And then we're going to basically execute every turn. That's really hard, huh? Because I'm going to do this behavior over and over again. And there's going to be a state machine. Yeah. Huh. There will be a behavior state machine because it's going to be like, do the exploration if this is the case. Do this if this is the case. I guess also I could make this a order thing. So for example, if the Berry Folk behavior at the top level is a complete behavior decision where I go, I shouldn't do that though, because I want to do goal-oriented action planning, right? Okay. All right, so we'll do explore behavior, and I've been puzzling over this for a while now, so I think I'm just going to have to do it. So on process of my thing, process delta Should it execute? You know what? Forget this. Sorry. Bury folk behavior outside. I think this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get behavior on process. It says, hey, if it doesn't have a behavior, I'm going to assign a behavior. And for now, I think I'm just going to do this here. When it's getting assigned, I'm going to execute the behavior. Okay. So first of all, it's going to execute this, and it needs to return a Boolean value, which apparently I didn't assign somehow. I'm going to say this succeeds by default and rely on the children. Turn true. True here. And let me make sure it does a start here. Oh, we got to do start, huh? Start does the execution. Okay. So we go start. And then it goes through its children. And then it starts the children logic. It's not naturally asynchronous. This is going to be annoying. Yeah, I'm gonna have to split this. Because I need to support asynchronous behavior. I have to support asynchronous behavior. So we do have to come up with on update, on execute. Yeah, on start, on update. On update, it needs to decide, is it still executing, or has it failed, or has it succeeded? There are 3 states. So we got to say, hey, on... So this is on update. It's going to say update result. Update result, which will be an enum of success, fail, or in progress. The behavior has completed successfully. The behavior has completed in failure. I guess I should do it on top here. Like so. And then say the behavior is in progress. Not inconclusive. Okay. So instead of execute being a Boolean, this needs to be over here like so. And then we gotta update this to be return success. Successful, fail if the action has failed, return in progress if the action is still executing. Behavior tree executes this function to perform this behavior on every loop. Let's say. so. So over here, when we're starting, we're going to have to reprogram this little quick. And this is why I had to make this like test thing to notice all these differences and requirements for this particular logic. So this is good. This is good. All right. Let me think. Start gets turned on. Let me think. There's going to be a process where the execution of the logic happens and its children's logic happens as well. There's going to be a variable var is paused, which will be true. And this one on start will become false, which means it's going to run. And the process will only run if the pause is not true. We're going to have to change this. And during the process, I'm going to have to signal up result. Yes. Because during the process, I'm executing itself and its children that are in queue. So hold on. This is going to be true by default. So instead of looking for true, we're looking for the result, update result. If the execute is success, is not, or is failure. We're going to just return. We don't have to worry about returning here. We need to signal up something. How do we signal up? This is calling start. Because this is being done within the process. Rough. Okay. Every loop we execute if it is not paused. Yes. And then we also, okay, got it. On start, it turns on everybody. It turns myself on, and I also turn on the children. So I gotta do this. So over here, I'm taking the priority queue of the priority. I take all the children, I pop it, and then I start their behavior. Not everybody. Oh, gosh, this is so annoying. Okay. So I have the children, I calculate the priority of them, And then from the priority queue, oh, okay. When the start gets executed, start yourself and see if it fails or succeeds. And that depends on children. So I start the next child. Hey, thanks for the raid, actually, Just Games. I'm in the middle of thinking, so it's going to be pretty boring right now, but I hope you had a great stream. Appreciate it. Got some shout out going on here, actually. Just Games. Welcome, Raiders. I'll follow you back so I can raid you in the future. Thinking good, yes. I'm doing a lot of thinking right now. Okay, so we're Godot game dev stuff, you know. I have YouTube channel that you can watch devlogs and tutorials on programming in Godot. And right now I am working on one of the projects that are related to some plugin slash template for Godot. Namely, I'm making this game AI plugin. And it's basically using finite state machine, behavior tree, and goal-oriented action planning, which are commonly known alternatives to just vanilla state machine. So I've been making these, and I'm making a kind of demo game that relies on it, that uses it. Because I'm trying to also kind of proof slash like test my things. So right now I'm working with behavior tree at the moment to have these like little creatures behave accordingly, and I'm having to restructure some of the design or like the programming structure of the behavior tree at the moment. And I am doing some thinking here. Okay. And of course, as with anything, the problem is the fact that I'm trying to make it handle some asynchronous functions while having some sort of order as well. All right, so what I think I can do is actually Just Games. It sounds very cool. Was checking out Monte Carlo tree search recently, but it's kind of complicated to make. Oh, I bet. Sounds fun though. We are up in here. Okay. Behavior tree starts executing. And I wanted to execute its children via the abstract class execute on every loop. So on every loop, I need to decide which of my children I am executing on. Yes. So on start, I need to have structured a children queue, execution queue, which would be a min heap. Yes. And so instead of priority queue, we'll do it like that. Create a new one on start. And then we're going to insert everybody into the queue. And we can say currently executing child, which would be another tree, because we're executing one at a time, one node at a time. So we're executing right here. And then this shouldn't be accessible. So we're gonna do that. Currently executing child. So we don't have to do a while loop yet. During this function, we go, hey, currently executing child. Execute your function. No, that's going to be handled by itself. So basically, we're going to create a priority queue. If the current is empty, so if we say, hey, oops, if the currently executing child is empty, then we're going to assign that from the queue and pop it. And because it's executing now, we're going to start that behavior. Yes. Is empty. Yeah. This one doesn't want like this because priority. Yeah, that's fine. This is not a problem. I'm gonna comment this out. That execution queue now has this. All right. So we are popping from the min heap / priority queue, assigning it and starting its logic. When the execute runs and when it is failing or succeeding, I think what it is basically we're going to signal out, behavior finished, and then it's going to come up with update result or successful will be a boolean, not state. State is only for the run. When we are starting, before starting, we got to connect some of the signals here. So func on child execute finished. You're doing this. So technically we could do it in the beginning. We don't even have to do it on update. We come over here, we created a priority queue already. As a beginning, we pop it, we assign it, and we start it. And we say before starting, we're going to connect a signal to this. Behavior finished to on execution finished. Success is success, like so. And we did that. On execute, if it's a fail, I guess we gotta do a little switch here. Match this onto update result success versus update result fail. I'm getting it. It's coming through. And then if it's in progress, let it keep running. Yusuf says, good night, everyone. That was pleasant stream. Oh, thank you, Yusuf. I hope you have a good night. Have fun. All you hear is my voice mumbling into the mic. But that's what we're here for, aren't we? That is what we're here for. I believe that. But yeah. Actually, Just Game says, gotta go, but looking forward to checking your YouTube updates as well. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Have fun. Have fun. I'll see you around. Thanks for the raid. Well, I don't know how long I'm going to stay, but it is what it is. But we're getting there. We're getting there. At least I'm about to complete a thought, which is a good sign. So when a child execution finishes, right? Oh, this is kind of rough, huh? So the execution of self should not execute until the child has been executed. child has been executed is kind of crazy thing to say, but hold on. We don't even need to do this yet. So to start, it is paused, which is true. We do all of this, and a child's behavior starts up. And then we wait on the success of the child behavior. When it signals up to us and say, hey, I have been successful, we have to say, let's grab the behavior tree or the priority queue. And then we're going to pop a new one if it is not empty. So if it is empty, then we want to execute self, right? Meaning I want to do is paused equals false. So we say no child behavior left, execute self, or start executing self, and then finish. If there are more children, we're going to go pop that. Currently executing child will equal to this new one. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to connect it and start it. But before connecting and starting, I think whatever was already connected needs to be disconnected. So we'll go clean up, finished, disconnect, so that on the next loop it doesn't trigger accidentally. So we're disconnecting previous one, we're creating a new one, we're connecting it, and then we're starting it. Good. Kelso says, oh, you're really doing State Master class now. That's amazing. What? I'm doing State Master class? Is that what this is? Whew. All right. I think this works. Hold on. I mean, hindsight, there's really no need for the current. Well, I guess there is a need for it because I do need to disconnect it. All right. So it's going to execute everybody. If there's no child, I'm going to execute myself and then omit behavior finished. So if the child thing is empty, it's going to come through and see the start, blah, 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 blah. It's going to see that the all children is empty. Nothing happens here. Queue is empty. It comes down here. It's not going to do anything, actually. Ooh, okay. If it is empty, it actually kind of breaks this pattern. So what we're going to do here is if this is empty to begin with, meaning it doesn't have any child to execute, we have to immediately trigger this as if all the child have been successful. So it's going to come through here. Priority queue has already been created, I think. What happened to it? Wait, what the? Where am I instantiating the min heap? Oh, this one. Oops. There you go. Almost made a mistake here. So we're doing this. Insert. After creating the queue, well, queue is already created. So if we do this, there's no children, then there's nothing to do here. we're immediately executing this, meaning, oh, it's going to assume that it's successful. It's going to look at the queue, see that it's empty. It's going to on pause and return. Comes over here. It's going to execute an update on every loop. New house as state machines manager. Basically, I mean, this is like, okay, so I don't know if you just missed the initial raid message, but I'm making a Godot template / plugin for all game AI logic that are well known, which contains a finite state machine, which I already implemented. So this finite state machine allows for a basic finite state machine with nodes like this, as you can see. This is an abstract class that forces you to implement on enter, on exit, on update, where you return the state you're transitioning to on update. And the state machine automatically runs it by providing starting, and if it is paused, and then you can have the history stack. And this state machine has what? Push down automata, which means it keeps history of the state transition, so you can do move to the previous history or previous state instead of defining a state itself. That's good, because if you want to do that, you just go state helper, pop state, and then return that, and that's going to be a previous state. And then this one also does hierarchical state machine, meaning within the state node itself, you can assign another state, meaning when it enters the node, the new state machine, the sub-state machine will start to run. Cool. That relationship, I'm not really sure how the update thing will work, but we'll figure it out. And then the next thing right now I'm working with, which I've tested that works, basic vanilla state machine things work. Now we're doing behavior tree. And behavior tree is essentially a decision tree that relies on the execution order. And then after that, I'm hoping to do what's called a goal-oriented action planning, which is given a goal state, the AI will automatically decide series of actions and behaviors to get to that goal state, which is cool. And that's the ultimate goal. And I'm making this little God Manager AI game where, you know, you're just dropping thunders and lightning to this world where each individuals do their own thing to survive and live. Whew. I wish I was fast enough to not bore anyone who's already heard this pitch. But yeah. Okay, so behavior tree, we did this. I think this is good. I think this is good and complete now. So we, on the berry folk behavior, we set get the explore behavior right here, and it's going to start, which does everything it needs to do. Only thing that it doesn't do is like, it doesn't check if it's successful or not, but it doesn't matter. So it's going to do that. Now walk around. What happens on walk around? Now this is the interesting part, I think. Guess I could make it so that the blackboard is passed through the execute. That could be like I did with the state machine and variable. So that cleans up instead of dragging and dropping. So it's properly decoupled. So let me try that. Where execute takes the game state, which is a variant. Hey, Celine. And then start requires you to provide that. And then when it's starting, I'm thinking. It'll pass that game state. I'm going to have to assign it globally on execute, but what if it changes? I mean, it's a pointer so that the content might remain unless I provide a blackboard. I think it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to do here. I'm going to do it this way. Game state here, which will be passed through. And we're going to say underscore game state will equal to game state that has been passed out. Non-duplicate, duplicate doesn't really matter. And on start, it's going to do that. And over here on start, the game state, I think, for me will be the folk, which is the berry folk. So we can assume we have the berry folk here. Or I can make my own game state, which is a different thing. First of all, game state here like so. I think this is, what is it saying? Needs the behavior tree, return, execute. Hold on. Needs to be update result. So success by default for now. This as well. Just gonna copy and paste all this actually. Like so. Okay. Sick. First of all, I'm gonna say, well, for now, berry folk is just game state. And then we can do something with it. And this one as well. Scan's gonna do something. So walk around here is basically berry folk deciding some random coordinate within the map. And I can configure this specific thing, I guess, to be like, oh, var range or boundary. What is that? You know, and I can assign that. I'm going to say the spawn range is this. Well, boundary is same as the spawn range. And then we'll insert that. Boom. And basically the berry folk, I'm going to get its movement token and say move to a position if is moving to a position, don't do anything. If it's not, right, I think. If it is not moving to a position, we'll go berry folk, movement, chase target, no. What was it? Move to position, I think. Move to a position, and then we're gonna target position, which will be a vector 2 of some range. And that's going to be determined by the boundary where we go, hey, x will equal to this thing, which I've already used before. So I'm going to just copy and paste this real quick. Hey, Newhouse says, will it be like each villager has tons of behaviors they can adapt using based on what world the village has? Our God rules, other villagers chatting together ideas? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what that is. So the goal-oriented action planning, hopefully, is basically like, given the moves, it gets to the goal state. So it's like, hey, they ideally, based on the supply and demand of the resources, they will also commit murder and punish each other. And like Sims, Dwarf Fortress, that kind of stuff, I want to see it happen. Because that would be the proof of the most complicated AI logic in a game, right? So if it can do that, it can most certainly do a lot of other things. So, yeah, that's the idea. Chatting together, falling in love, having children, all those things would be nice. But those are stretch goals. I just want to have this like basic implementation that I can showcase. Like it needs to be good enough. Like it needs to be amazing enough where in the beginning of the video, I go, this is what I made and this is how they behave. People immediately go, oh my gosh, how did you do that? This is easy to do. There's a plugin for it. Let me learn about it. Like that's the feeling I need to invoke in this, right? So whatever I can do to make that example, I need to do. Is a working backwards from the viral moment, I think. And instead of viral, I guess it's like working backwards from intro, which is common YouTube technique. I haven't done that in a while. I've been rushing contents these days, but I still think it's valuable, but we'll see. You have says, so each behavior could be method they adapt and has list of needed attributes and some measurement variables or something. Yes, exactly. Each behavior would alter the world. Each behavior programmatically means saying alters the state to something. Health equals 0, blah, blah, blah. And that state is what the AI would pay attention to. It'll be like, I want that state to change to this other thing. So I'm going to do what I can to get it to this other thing. And I think if I just say goal-oriented action planning to be like, oh, I can't achieve it, so I'm not going to do it. I need some sort of tolerance of like, if it is close enough, we're going to go towards it first, even if the final goal has not been determined, potentially. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. That's the idea. It becomes hard when there are a lot of entities and the world is constantly changing, so we're going to have to kind of account for that, but that will be an interesting problem to solve for the video as well. So here we are. Okay, so walk around here. We said we're going to create a target position. I wanted to copy my spawn range logic, which is this one right here. So boop, we'll say bum, and that I'm just going to copy and paste. Instead of spawn range, it's going to be boundary. Yes. And then we're going to copy and paste this for Y as well. New house says, this is a bit silly idea, but would empathy be some numeric value? If negativity, they do more likely actions of not so kind. I think that could be. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think the whole idea is that you get to experiment with all of these things. And that could be really fun, you know? Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's silly at all. Thanks for the follow, Oglethorpe. But yeah, negativity. Because at the end of the day, I also started this YouTube channel with one game idea, which I haven't gotten back to in a while. My ultimate goal is having some sort of like procedurally constructed narrative game. That sounds fun. Like the history is constructed that you can play RPG in. I really hope that can be something that I do. But we'll see. All right. So if the movement is okay, so if the berry folk is not moving or have not moved yet on execute, I suppose we start to move to a random target. Newhouse says, was just thought we rarely use both negative and positive values of some ideas. No, I get it. I think it should be used on both positive and negative. That would make it more flexible. Newhouse says, though, in Sims we have that. Yes, I think so. I'm not really familiar with Sims too much, as in like as the gameplay itself, because I haven't really grown up playing a lot of it. I'm just familiar with it. I mean, I played it when it was like back in the day, which was a little bit different. But yeah, no, I see it. I see it. Let's see. All right, hold on. Let me focus here. So while all of this is happening, moving to a position, if it's not moving, I guess I should probably do more like current. This is almost like a behavior state. Because we need to indicate that the behavior has started or hasn't started. So we'll say var has behavior started for this one. And I'm going to say, hey, if the behavior hasn't started yet, we're going to set its target and then set it to true. And then we're going to just return update result in progress. If it has started and is moving, then we're going to say, I also misspelled behavior. If berry folk movement status, I think, is moving to position, which I think becomes false when canceling. Ooh. This needs to be set to false if we are an idle. If we arrive, right? Oops. Like so. Because we are no longer moving to a position. And when we're an idle, we're stopping. Yeah. Okay. So if the berry folk is no longer moving to a specific position, that means it's arrived and we can now return a success. Otherwise, it's a failure or in progress, I guess. We don't really have a case for failure on movement. I think... Oh, okay. I do have an idea. I do think that there should be a time limit. So we'll say bar walk around time limit, which will be float of, I don't know, let's say like 5,000 milliseconds. That's 5 seconds, right? So if we walk around for 5 seconds, we're going to choose a new spot. So we come down here and basically var start time in msec will be float. And this one gets refreshed on the beginning, or at the beginning, which is time, msec tick. And basically, over here, it's progress, but otherwise, if it is moving, in the process of moving, we're going to check the time minus the start time. And if it is greater than equal to the walk around limit, time limit, then we're going to say this is a failure. We need to stop moving. Now, we made it a sequence, so even if it fails, it's going to go to the next one. But I need to, at this point, I need to test before I implement anything new. That is, I want to see my strawberry folk move around within the map. It's going far. 5 seconds must be pretty long. Okay, idle. Oh, this is great. Okay, so it doesn't loop. It executes it once. So we have, during the process, we do this, we start it, and then the behavior is stuck. So what I can do now is for current behavior, func on behavior finished. We're going to say subject, which will be some node. It doesn't matter. It could be berry folk. And then the behavior, which will be a behavior tree. We're going to do something here. That is, if the current behavior finishes, current behavior, which I guess I got to do like this so that it has typing, is finished or something like that, I think. Finished. Behavior finished. We're going to connect it to on behavior finished and bind the berry folk on it. It's going to return true or false. So we're going to have to do a result like so. And then I want to bind also the behavior. Well, I guess I don't really need to. I can just do this like so. On behavior finished, we're going to say, well, regardless of the result, I'm going to say subject's behavior will be nulled, meaning we're going to clear it out on finish. Like so, I think. We're not using results, so we're going to do that. Oh, thanks for the follow, New House. Appreciate it. Kelso says failure to stop. Haha, yeah. Failure to stop on a stop sign. You get a ticket. I do think that the 5 second might be a little bit too long. So I'm going to say, how about 2.5 seconds? Because I want to see it actually be interrupted. Hey, yo, K-Mac back. Welcome, welcome. I feel like new behavior should be assigned, but it's not being assigned, which is kind of annoying. Let's take a look. What's going on? Oh,